Spoilers, bitches. Spoilers.
Darth Maul is in the film. Give me a.
Why is that so bad?
Are you kidding me? Come on. I mean, that entire scene was a Marvel end credit scene at the end of this movie.
Why is that a problem? I don't understand.
I'll tell you why. Because then death is completely irrelevant in this universe at this point. So if Darth Maul gets cut in half, falls down that thing, and then comes back out of the blue for this film, then what? Snokesaurus over there, he might come back now. It kills the stake. The only reason they picked Darth Maul and put him in there was completely fan service, and people are saying, "Oh, well, there's an explanation because in the cartoon you see how he comes back."
Oh, and that's stupid too. But let me ask you this timeline-wise. I thought this all happened previous.
No, this 110% takes place in between the two trilogies, sometime before Rogue One.
But it is before Rogue One. Okay.
Yeah.
No, and actually, I had a question about that. I forgot to ask you about it earlier, Frank. Okay. Well, all right. Then that makes more sense. Then it is kind of stupid. I agree.
And I mean, it's not like you could say, okay, well, maybe it's somebody that looks like Darth Maul, but no, they had to play Duel of the Fates. He had to ignite both of his lightsabers just for no reason, just to dial it in. That is so goddamn cheap. I mean, if you wanted to include another character that she's talking to that's involved in something like this, Jabba probably would have made more sense. This is baiting for the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
Right. I think you're going to see her engage him in a completely separate fashion. I don't know that she'll cross Han's path again, maybe. I don't know that that'll even happen. Which, then fans will get all pissed off about that, but that's a different topic.
Well, it left a lot of room open for a sequel that I'm not sure that we're going to get at this point.
We still haven't introduced Han to Jabba and stuff like that. And that's kind of something I liked, is that there's still some things on the table that they haven't produced. And if what you say is accurate, we may never actually see. We just get it implied in episode 4. But the one good thing about Darth Maul's appearance is kind of something that appears throughout the movie, is when you get those presentation moments, every time the music pays a little tribute to it in the background. It's pretty cool. So, the Duel of Fates with Darth Maul.
And that's the best thing. That's the best thing that the Star Wars films and most productions that have involved John Williams to one point or another is they keep the themes consistent. Sometimes over too much. I can argue that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull using the Grail theme with the aliens was kind of weird, but okay, whatever. And the Kessel Run. If anybody that may have issues with it, you can at least agree that the use of the old themes elevated that scene.
Absolutely.
My biggest issue with this film going into it was I was afraid that they were going to undermine Han's arc, that he was going to end up with the heart of gold at the end of this film that he had at the end of Return of the Jedi. And that's how I felt with this film. They make a big deal. You're a good man, etc. He sacrifices his big payday to fund the rebellion, etc. What really should have happened, especially with all the betrayals of this film, is, I can understand them starting the film with him as this altruistic figure, with him as this idealist, and then becoming more pessimist. Heck, his 3 years on the battle lines in war with the Empire alone should have hardened him a little bit. But the first time we see him 3 years later, he's running around like it's the first time he's ever seen a gun. Not to mention the fact that qi'ra had like the most immaculate hair I've ever seen for somebody who's in destitution. But that's a nitpick.
Something I can answer to with that very same nitpick. It says 3 years later. Yeah, that doesn't mean he's been on the lines for 3 years up front. Remember, they cite the fact that he tries to be a pilot. That could have been the first 2.5. We don't have context.
I can see that argument. This isn't what I'm nailing my argument on. I think that's I think that's over explanation to try to fill in that narrative gap. But I can understand it. With all the betrayals and so forth, I mean, really, what should have happened is when he actually does that moral thing. That's when it should have bit him in the ass. That's what it would have turned him to be the pessimist who doesn't want to help anybody, not even a princess is about to be executed. His attempts to do the moral thing should have been what turned him into the Han Solo that we saw in the original film. That would have been a much more biting story. That's what this story should have been. The anti-Luke.
Or I should say, the remastery of the Spider-Man thing. You let something bad happen, so something bad happens, and that might have been an interesting twist. It might have made for a more enjoyable movie, less fun perhaps, but that's an interesting concept. I kind of feel like it was a situation where and not necessarily to say that this doesn't undermine the character arc. It could just be a situation where they're all like, well, he's young, we have plenty of time to make him more jaded for that to still work in the sequel. But
there's one reason I'm not buying that argument is because a lot of people made that same argument in Force Awakens. Oh, we'll find out in the sequel why she's so powerful in the Force. Guess what? The sequel takes place one day later, and suddenly she's a master goddess of the Force. We've been burned by this franchise before. That's all I'm saying.
Last Jedi is bad, but the opportunity is still there for this franchise. That doesn't necessarily mean that they'll execute Solo 2, if there is one, as badly as Last Jedi, and to assume that is some pessimistic critic shit on your part.
Solo 2, by its very title, sounds like the biggest oxymoron I've ever seen in cinema history. But
so great. What are they going to do? Call it duets? I mean, no.
I'm not accepting that because we'll eventually see a way in the future to fix this film's mistakes. I am not buying that, but
see, that's the thing. Something that's happening now that didn't used to the same extent is all these arcs over trilogies and over series are being written in advance. And really, I don't think everybody who's us as members of the movie-going public has figured that out yet. And if I may be so bold, based on the way that you have very consistently, and this is actually a compliment, you very consistently grade movies as individual pieces of art, lacking a better way to describe it, makes sense that you don't dig the trying to arc throughout the course of a trilogy like that. You would rather see things more evident earlier on. What they did portray well enough is that Han is somebody who is wanting to survive at every turn, and he's still young enough and stupid enough to be trying to please everyone. That's what I saw, right? Because his move to help I forget
Freckles.
The name. Thank you. His move to help them didn't come until he was trapped, and he's like, well, wait a minute, maybe we can do this, and the Red Dawn being out of the way isn't necessarily, it just happens to also be altruistic. You have to notice there's a lot of people better off with those mofos out the way, including the Sith, as it would turn out. I'm just saying.
Sorry, I got a cameo from CK. Just want some attention. There he is.
Willow off good, baby. Woo!
I see why you say that about the long-term arcs between films and so forth. This is where I differ on that. When you look at, I'm very accepting of that with the Marvel films, because they have proven a consistency. They have proven through the execution of all these films and the paying out of these various narrative threads, they have earned that trust. With the Star Wars films already, we haven't seen that with these new iteration of films. In fact, everything that we've seen, production-wise, story-wise, and between episodes 7 and 8 alone, the inconsistencies, they haven't earned that trust. I'm not going to bestow that trust on them. They have to earn that trust.
So the one example you're going to draw any other attempt to do that. Okay, that's some damn closed-minded shit.
No, I'm just citing one example here. I can spend time discussing others if you'd like.
There isn't one yet. Not under this Disney flag, right?
There are 4 films that we can talk about.
They're not necessarily all linking to each other like 7 and 8 are, right? And
they're all interlinking to previous entries. So you have like Rogue One, which is linking to other things. So there are a couple of inconsistencies between
films. Yeah, it's not applicable. It's not like Marvel shit there. Okay,
it's applicable. Are you kidding me?
No,
Solo is designed to work into
new stuff. You cannot make this the same as injecting something that already pre-exists. You did the same stuff in that episode too. I don't think those are even remotely similar.
So what's your argument here, that when Captain Marvel comes out, that you can't apply the same thing because to that film because it takes place in the 90s before the other films? It's a newer film. So no, I'm not gonna excuse the flaws in this film based on what we might see in the future. And if they do, I mean, there's definitely room here. There are enough positive things in this film. You know, you have to dig to find a few of them, but there are enough positive things in this film so they can, you know, make another film. Solo 2, I guess. I don't know.
Other thing too, you started to label me as an apologist for this movie, and I'm not taking that.
I'm not labeling you as an apologist. You just liked it better than me.
You just said a couple times that I won't use it as an excuse, which in context makes it sound like that I'm doing that. I'm not. I just feel like there's some stuff in here that's still consistent with a young Solo. Could it have been done better? Maybe. I that makes a lot of sense.
I think within the film there are inconsistencies with his character because, and maybe that's a fault of Lawrence and his son, who both wrote the screenplay. Going back and forth. Maybe it's a fault of the Lord and Miller, the previous directors, filming some scenes that were still there and others that, you know, you don't know what was there from the previous iteration. There's 20% of it still there. Right. But there are some scenes where they want to get him across as the badass Han Solo that we know. And then the very next scene, he's this befuddling little idiot who's constantly being belittled by every single person in the cast who speaks English. And it goes back and forth like that. I can see it gradually happening through the film from one to the other, but this it's very, very inconsistent, and it just doesn't drive the character arc home.
Let me ask this one question to kind of put a bow on this particular part of the concept. Is we haven't really seen Han experience the loss. That was his whole motivation to begin to F around with trying to be an Imperial pilot, to be on the front lines of war, to end up being a scoundrel, to get a ship and find this chick. She's still somehow around-ish. Do you think that loss not having happened yet is something that may be keeping him plucky? I don't know. I don't know a better way to describe it.
Possibly. I think that this is a character that can have his own separate adventures. You can have a whole series of solo films and it'll be different adventures, different jobs, different it could be one where that focuses on him and Lando, one where it's him and Chewie versus Jabba. This isn't the type of character that necessitates a long 3, 4, 5 film single story arc. I think that his relationship with her, this entire storyline, they could have left the door open for Crimson, I guess, somehow, but I'm just saying that this story should have ended with this film and leave the door open for different adventures, different scenarios.
You don't think that's happened? Okay.
I don't think that's happened at all.
That's I can't rule that out. That's perfectly fair.
For me, his character worked best when he was driving his own story. And at the beginning of the film, he had the same. He wanted to get back to his girl, and he wanted to become a pilot. Within the first act, he achieves both. And then he is at the mercy of of all these other storylines and heists and so forth. I think that he should have been a little bit more of a driving force of his own film. Hell, even the big showdown with the main villain of the piece at the end. He's getting his ass kicked by by both of them, the girl and so forth. They make it about her at the end, and just so they can so he can somehow run at superhuman speed across the desert or wherever the hell they are, get in front of Woody Harrelson so they can make a first shoot. Han shoots first joke.
I thought, which, by the way, I know it was a little ridiculous how he got there, but I loved that they did it. Because and no, this is a me problem. I'll say it up front, and you can call me stupid if you want, but I have still been pissed. And not even a big Star Wars fan per se. I am still pissed that the re-release made Greedo shoot first. That was the dumbest bullshit on the friggin' planet.
I'll tell you why the entire thing is a dumb argument. Han doesn't shoot first. Han is the only goddamn one that shoots.
My man!
I love how they tried to fix it. Because have you seen the different iterations of the special editions? Because God knows every single DVD release of the film is a new iteration of these goddamn films. First time, Greedo shot first. The second time, oh, you're gonna be blown away by this. They shoot at the same time.
I saw that one. God, it's stupid.
And then adding the no to Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi. I mean, goddamn. And everybody that knows, that has seen the show, has always, knows that I prefer the first two Star Wars films to Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is serviceable. It's good. It's by far better than anything we've seen since, in my opinion. But
except
don't make it worse. Don't make they're adding musical numbers to this goddamn thing. Give me a break.
That's awesome. So, okay. So twists that did and didn't work. Okay. The beast that he was getting fed to, gotta be honest, with the way they described it, did not think that was going to be Chewbacca immediately.
Yeah, I had the inkling when they said beast that it was going to be him, but I thought that was well done. I didn't have a problem with that. Although.
Okay. I kind of felt more like it wasn't going to be a Rancor per se, but something like that. The big beast from the third, from episode 6, for Return of the Jedi.
Rancor, yeah.
But that he would be saved by the Wookiee in question. When it turned out that he was the beast, listen, it's going to go well, but then you figure out, oh, he speaks a little Wookiee, so he's just known all along. Okay.
Somehow.
Right.
But hell, I mean, Rey speaks almost every language and can talk to droids in Force Awakens. So I guess, and they have, I guess all these destitute planets have very, very good education systems. America, take note.
Well, listen, when you're out on a desert planet and, once you get your food, you have a lot of spare time. So apparently you listen on Hooked on Fox in many languages.
What do you feel about the fact that did you see all the human and remains in Chewbacca's lair? So is it now canon that Chewie is a man-eater?
Hall & Oates would be very okay with that. I'm just saying. No.
I'm just saying that it takes a shower scene that they have together to a whole new level.
Oh my God. It's not so much that they're hetero life mates. Perhaps it's the fact that Solo got used to the fact that Chewbacca does not have a concept of personal space.
They did. The running gag of the personal space was funny. They kind of blew their load with the shower scene early on, but okay. Oh, that sounded so much worse than I meant it.
It really did. So that's one twist, air quotes. Move next to the Falcon. Okay, so the game, air quotes, that they had, what they did in a lot of cases is they knew you were going to do something, so they did something just a bit different to try to put some pepper on it. And I think Chewbacca is one example. The way that that Han would come upon receiving the Falcon, and then the way that later he went and actually took the card that he cheated to beat him with and came back and get him. That may not have been a, twist per se, but I thought it was well executed.
That was fine. That was fine. I was talking more so about character twists, specifically who betrays whom and so forth. That I had more of the issue with, because every single one was just foreshadowed beyond oblivion. Don't trust anybody, especially me. Oh, look, I'm the one who betrayed you.
Yeah, I didn't spot it immediately, but when he's in the room, Vision says that I forget the guy's proper name.
Paul Bettany. I don't remember the name of his character, which is the same problem I had with most of Rogue One's characters, but there were at least the characters here for the most part, I think, were a little bit more
I liked memorable. Him. I just can't remember his name, but
Scarface.
Yeah, why not? Galactic Scarface. I thought for a minute that it was Emilia Clarke that was pulling the crap, and then he said no, someone else. I'm like, oh, it's Beckett. But again, I don't feel like it was poorly executed per se. Just because something's coming doesn't mean it was done badly. But I do. They bring him in. You expect that betrayal and all that. They set it up, but then we see Han. It's a chance to demonstrate Han's craftiness in foreseeing the betraying the betrayal, so to speak. Right. I felt like it landed. Probably could have been better, but I felt like it landed. I enjoyed it.
Once again, I think my biggest issue is that there's already a whole litany of things that you're expecting to see in this movie, a list of predictable checkpoints, and then to add other things in it that are foreshadowed to the point that you're just expecting them. It was just a little too much. It could have been more clever with it.
Now I feel like you're making what I think is a more legitimate criticism is, did they try to do too much twisting? Did they forget that this movie is not for contortionists? You know.
I will say this, Chewbacca, it was about time we saw him rip some people's arms off.
And I love the joke, that was the one that was going to fit me best, but whatever. That's
how you subvert expectations, Last Jedi.
Take a note, Last Jedi. Anyway, I felt like a lot of the action was in it good. It was good too as well. I really enjoyed I already said the train robbery. The Kessel Run, to your point, was good. The gravity well scene was awesome. I thought that was going to be cheesy as hell when they revealed the monster, and that went well. Twist wise, I think a lot of that was solid, except for the Darth Maul thing. Now that I'm clear on the timeline, that's kind of stupid. I agree.
Let's get to L3. Because I have a feeling that you may have liked her more than I did. Listen, the entire droid rights thing was overdone, man. But it does give you a little bit of a different insight to the beginning of New Hope, because now Luke Skywalker is dealing with robot slave traders. He subjugates R2-D2 by putting a restraining bolt on him.
L3 and Lando had a similar relationship, I kind of felt like, to Miracle Max and his wife in Princess Bride, right? Like, they're tight, but they find each other annoying as hell at the same time, right?
I have no problem with him injecting, taking the character in a different direction. And with this character being an obnoxious civil rights fighter, I guess, it is a different take on it, right? I'm like, okay. Even if I think that it's a bit pandering, whatever. Okay, let's go with it. They make her really obnoxious. Every single thing she says and does is along this one line of thought, with the exception of of a scene where she talks about human droid sexual compatibility, which seems like it'd be out of place in the requisite Star Wars porn parody. But you do all this, and then you try to give this character the most emotional, significant death in the film? Are you kidding me? That had absolutely no punch. And if it worked at any single level, it was all because of Donald Glover acting his heart out trying to make this work.
Well, what death scenes were there really, other than Woody Harrelson's, and that was a joke?
His entire team dies at the beginning, some of them pointlessly, if I might add, but whatever.
I'm not prepared to say pointlessly, but it made sense, and it's pointlessly from our point of view because we just met the characters. That's the problem.
Yeah. I would have liked to spend more time with that team.
Correct. It could have been a noble sacrifice that barracks.
That team should have been the one throughout this whole thing and dying in the Kessel Run and so forth. They should have built that up, but
that certainly would have been an option. I really liked the pilot that Solo.
Jon Favreau.
I knew that voice. And yeah, that character was really good. I really enjoyed that. I kind of feel like they were at a moment they were like, "Hey, can you be a bunny except likable?"
A cross between a bunny, a monkey, and an octopus, I guess.
And somewhere in there, somebody will figure out we mean Rocket Raccoon,
or how to include it in a Mountain Dew commercial. But anyway.
I don't even know where to go to that. Anyway,
Puppy Monkey Baby, come on, the Super Bowl. You're the sports guy. I'm making the sports reference here.
Oh God, I've been trying to block that commercial out for months. Thank you, Jack Wagon. Anyway,
anything I can do to help. I think we were all scarred equally by that.
Yeah, right. But to go back to L3, there wasn't a lot of that being there, but I think what we're trying to show isn't so much that Lando is, what are they calling it, pansexual or anything. Lando is materialistic. That is what this is supposed to demonstrate. His greatest love going into their meeting was supposed to be, in fact, the Millennium Falcon. What gets him all pissed off in the first place to bail from the entire mission and leave Han on his ass? The fact that they wrecked the very same Falcon. L3 then trying to be of emotional significance, to your point, is completely stupid except for one thing and one thing alone. It's a thing. He loves it more. That part makes sense, but everything else, I'm with you, probably didn't land as well as they'd hoped.
I don't know if that was their intention, though. I honestly think that they were generally trying to set up that, even she said he secretly loves me, and then, his crying, like tears and sobbing over her tells me more than this is just a materialistic love.
If they were really trying to sell an actual intimate physical relationship between Lando and this robot is Lando's goal, I don't think that landed, and I don't know that it would. That's just odd.
I think it opens the door to a lot of different things. Like Poe is very, very close to BB-8. Luke was very, very fond of that milk.
Well, and actually, BB-8, maybe he's the rebound from K2SO.
K2SO was too badass. He was having it with all of them.
Maybe perhaps a lot of it is because I'm just in awe that they managed to get a product this good out of it, and not to say it's great. I mean, I would put it at 2.5 or 3 of 5. And yeah, I feel like a lot of it worked. I feel like every actor did a good job, but it was structural issues that were the problem. Big shaka, So,
yeah, at the end of the day, that is the true miracle of this film, and that we said it before, that the fact that they got off with something as solid as they did. I'm not contending that it's a trash fire. I'm just saying that it's below average. You're making a film about arguably the most popular Star Wars character in existence. Han Solo is the Star Wars character that everybody loves and everybody reveres. His film, it could even be argued, really, that the most interesting aspects of his story were already shown. Everything in this film, as far as like the important notes of his backstory, were already pre-established in the trilogy. I don't want to make the accusation that this film was unnecessary, because I think you could explore a few of the different adventures that Han has, etc. I think there could be fun to have with that concept. Yeah. But at the end of the day, to take this revered character and saddle him with a movie that at its best, between you and I graded below average, you graded just above average. At the end of the day, average is a shame. It's a shame. At the very least, it's a missed opportunity.
Well, right, but then we're back to that same point. If there weren't so many production issues, would that have happened? I mean, hey, maybe it's time for the lesson to be learned. Hey, Disney, it didn't work for Iron Fist. Don't do it for Star Wars movies anymore, please. Thank you.
I think that they're attempting, no doubt, to apply the Marvel concept to Star Wars. And I don't think that's working out very well. And I'll tell you why. If you take the...
Just kidding.
Well, I didn't hear what you said.
Do you have to? It seems kind of obvious, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, but if you take the poster and put it next to a Marvel poster, they're aligned the same way. All the stars' names are in the exact same position. I mean, it is like, I don't have these aren't main release posters, but it's every single Marvel character is, to a degree, within their own different genre. There is diversity in that film. I'm not talking about human diversity. I'm talking about like diversity in story and style. Guardians of the Galaxy is vastly different from Iron Man. Doctor Strange is vastly different from Ant-Man. Every single you get 2 or 3 of these films a year, which I still think is too much, but they're different experiences. They're different. They're different types of stories.
About experiences, I can't find my cup for TJ. I'll have to get it out.
with Star Wars, it's all kind of the same so far, and there's possibility. There's possibility to be a little bit different, but I'm not seeing that at all. I think that's adding to that overall sense of getting burned out.
I don't know. You're burned out because you can't open your trust to them yet, and that's okay. They haven't earned it yet.
I'm gonna take the film's core messaging at heart. Trust no one.
Oh, yes. Always expect to be betrayed, because then you'll never be disappointed.
Exactly.
You could never have your childhood ruined. Oh man, that was funny.
To use another message from another film, The Last Jedi, just kill the past, and then keep making prequels.
Oh, boo.
Mic drop. What else I have to say? I like I said at the beginning of this, right before we went into the spoiler section, I'm saying that I only see it in theaters if you really want to. I'm saying that this is a rental. You know, see it on Netflix. It's going to be on Netflix. Watch it with Rogue One. But
Hey, Captain Low Blow. No,
Captain Solo, as in that's exactly how I feel about the.
Oh, he did it again, and that one Lando better than the rest of them. Hey, Demos, I got to do it 3 times.
You're chewing me out, buddy.
And you won't be Baka for more.
We're dead. Anyway, I think you're in agreement on that, though.
Yeah, I think it's something where if you're a Star Wars fan, go ahead and check it out in the theater. If you were hurt emotionally by Last Jedi, go see it in the theater. This will actually, prove to be a better experience. But otherwise, if you're a mediocre Star Wars fan, yeah, catch it later. I could see that.
So what did you guys think of Solo, a Star Wars story? Let us know in the comments below. Did you guys actually see it? Do you feel burned out by Star Wars, or do you feel that it's not special anymore? If you do, or if you don't, let us know in the comments below, because we generally do want to know. And yeah, make sure to follow me on Hilarity by Default for fun stuff for every week. On Twitter at Default Hilarity, and on Facebook and on Instagram, Hilarity by Default. Kyle, where can we find you?
Of course, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, the SOTG, and of course on Facebook as the Student of the Game. And check out my latest stuff. If you haven't checked it out yet, get around to it. The latest Sports Fans Guide to Nerd Culture will be on both Hilarity by Default and BlueHQmedia.com. Why Aaron Rodgers is like Darth Vader. Boom. And then, of course, exactly, right? You'd almost think that was coordinated. And of course, on Tuesday nights, on Blog Talk Radio, search Dinner Time for me and Big TJ doing our presentation of Dinner Time every week. And look out for every week also for our normal airing of Default Assault. Boom. Good time.
Yeah, this week, actually, you kind of teased it earlier. This week, we'll be talking about The Godfather Part 3. Is it as bad as they say? Our epic conclusion to our own Godfather Default Assault trilogy. I'm excited to get into that. Possibly. Oh. I'm glad that you ended up going with the comparison to Darth Vader rather than Darth Maul, because I would just have to cut you off.
Right at the knees, I'm sure.
He was cut off at the stomach. Not even his legs, his stomach. He was cut in half.
But the statement, cut the knees out from front of him, cut the stomach right out from him, it just doesn't land the same. I took a creative license there.
Oh, maybe that's how they'll fix The Last Jedi. Darth Snokosaurus is going to come back. They're going to sew him back together. Yeah, make sure to check us out where life is hilarious by default.
Poor Demos. He's in so much pain.